Abaro Aboye. So earlier, I cast Ifa for a lady, and it was, good reading in the sense that, Ifa spoke to her condition. Ifa talked about, you know, things that pertain to her work and things that pertain to her family and things that she ought to do to manage, her communication and kind of cultivate her relationships in a certain direction and look out for herself in particular kinds of ways. And on and on. Ifa touched on a handful of really key elements that are active in her life at this point. So once I expressed everything that Ifa has said that she should do in terms of sacrifice and observances, okay, so do you have any questions? How does this message align with what you're living and what you experience? And she affirmed everything that Ifa had said, and she also was very thankful that she had some greater context for what was going to happen and what she needed to do, and she was very thankful for that. And then she says, "But I do have one question." Right? She only had one question, and the question was, "Who is my Orisha? Does Ifa say anything about which Orisha is guiding my life?" And that's the number one question. I'm sure if we did a survey of Babalawo, that would be the number one question that people want to know. And I understand that question. I fully appreciate what is driving that question. I really do. And I understand that question is couched in this full spectrum of life experience. You've got these intense emotions. You've got these crazy experiences. You've got these habits and these scenarios that keep playing out over and over and over and over. And you've gone to the psychotherapist. You've gotten therapy, and it's been good, right? And you've gone to school, and you've gotten educated, and you've become a professional, and it's good. You've gotten married, you've had children, you've bought a home, you've progressed, and you've grown up, and it's all good. But somehow you're still missing something, right? There's something that's supposed to connect all that together and give all of that kind of a meaning and point it into a direction that it just doesn't all add up. And you've gone to church, maybe you've tried Islam, or you tried Buddhism, or you tried Baha'i, or you know what I mean? Some combination thereof. But somehow it just doesn't all come together for you. And that's what brought you to Orisha, because you really know that there's something more to it. There's something that's going to explain your particular experience, your feelings and the sensations that you have as you are going through life. There's something to it, and none of the things that you've done have given you the full spectrum of understanding that you really need. So when you ask, "Who is my Orisha?" you're trying to get the deepest context for your experience, for your life. Okay? You're trying to figure out, where do I truly fit into the cosmic framework of things? Who am I really? What's really driving me? What am I supposed to do next? Right? So I understand that, and I appreciate that. It's a noble question to ask. As an adult, as you mature, you should be more concerned about the big picture. You should want to understand how things really fit together. You should want to be able to play your role in an optimal, more responsible, more efficient way. That's part of maturity, right? So I understand that. But at the same time, I understand why knowing who your Orisha is not going to give you the full answer that you're looking for, right? I know that's not gonna. If I tell you this Orisha or that Orisha, you could go home and research it and Google this and Google that, and it would be interesting for a minute, but it wouldn't fully answer your question. All right, let me explain to you why. This is the School of Orisha Studies, by the way, and I'm your instructor, Obafemi Oribunwa. Today's lesson is all about understanding what Orisha truly means. Okay, what is the true meaning of Orisha to your life? Once upon a time, in the old days, when everybody was Yoruba, for example, okay, obviously not everybody on the planet, but everybody who practiced Orisha lifestyle, once upon a time, they were Yoruba. If they weren't Yoruba, they were Edo. If they weren't Edo, they were Fon. But they were all homogenous. They were in one cultural framework, right? And their lifestyles were pretty consistent, right? In that time, the pace was pretty consistent. People were farmers, and then they had their artwork and their artisanry, and they had their positions in the society, blah blah. You know what I'm saying? It was consistent. Everything was highly consistent. In those old days, when the ierosun, you know, the babalawo uses ierosun as a powder you put on the tray. It was made from termite dust from the osun, the baobab tree, right? Today, ierosun is not made from that. You'd be hard pressed to get some real authentic ierosun. The oti, which is the strong liquor we use to spray onto the instruments, that was a different kind of an oti. The shekete was different. The palm wine was different. The palm oil was different. Everything was different. The dried rat and the smoked fish, everything was different. Okay, it was different 1,000 years ago. All right. So I can say that maybe, perhaps, because all the ingredients were slightly different in the olden days, hey, maybe those shrines and those icons were more powerful. They were more potent once upon a time. Maybe. I don't know, because I wasn't there 1,000 years ago. But that's a possibility. Right? And so maybe back in the old days, if there's somebody just brought out the icon for Oshun, you know what I'm saying? Maybe your whole consciousness would just shift from being in the presence of that icon. Maybe that was the case. I don't know. Maybe. But I can tell you today, in the 20 plus years that I have been practicing Orisha lifestyle, I have never been in a situation where somebody brought out an icon and everybody's consciousness was transformed. I've never seen or anybody who has had that experience. They went to West Africa or anywhere else, and they came back and they said, man, just having this icon has totally shifted my consciousness. I went through this ritual and I came back a different person, altogether new. I haven't seen that. I haven't heard that story, right? And I always put that out there to say, people, well, maybe if you know people who have had that experience, I'd like to interview those people. I'd like to know, what was it like? Where'd you go? What happened? What'd you do? Right? But so far, in the thousands of people who I have known, no one has reported that kind of an experience. And I myself have not witnessed it either. Okay? So that says to me, the icon in and of itself is not going to transform your consciousness. Just having Oshun, just having Shango, just having Obatala is not going to transform your consciousness. Okay? Now, we could say that, the icons are different and that's possible. But what I also know for sure is that 70% of the rivers, of the waterways in here in the United States anyway, 70% are contaminated. They're polluted. You can't drink from that water. You barely want to swim in that water, but you certainly cannot drink it. Right? But that water is still, that's the water that's being, that's coming through your pipes. You're bathing with that water every day. Even if you're filtering it, you're drinking that water every day. Right? You're washing your hands with that water over and over and over and over every day. When a child is born here, the mother is maybe getting an epidural. The baby is born, they give that baby a shot. The child gets to be 3-6 months old. They give this child a vaccine. 100 years ago, your grandparents, your great grandparents, they might have gotten 2 or 3 vaccines. Today, they're up to 8, 10 vaccines that they're pumping into your bloodstream repeatedly from the time that you're 6 months until you're maybe 11, 12 years old. You get fillings in your teeth, and it's got some, mercury and this and that in it. You're eating processed food, right? As a result, you've got over 100 different chemicals in your body that people did not have in their bodies 100 years ago. Your lifestyle, the pace at which you live is totally different. The amount of time you're spending in front of screens, with devices and microwaves and all these different kinds of, radiation generating equipment, radically different. Okay. So what I know for sure is that you are a different human being than people were 100 years ago, and certainly a different human being than people were 1,000 years ago. Okay. So if you put those two together, the icons are different and the people are different. The outcome, right, of putting those two together is going to be different. It's going to be different. That's just basic logic. All right. And based on that, it builds the case for how important it is for you to get trained. Because for whatever reason, if you attribute it to the icons or you attribute to the changes of human makeup or the combination of the two, you're not going to be able to just pull out a stone from the river and put that into a pot and do a ritual, and then boom, your whole consciousness is going to be shifted behind that. It's not going to happen, folks. It is not going to happen. At the very least, right? What's going to happen is you're going to have to control all of the elements that you can control. This is why being trained is so important. If you really want to understand the answer to the question, who is my Orisha? You've got to be able to prepare yourself for that answer. You got to be able to set the stage for that answer so that you can really respond to it. You can't control whether or not all of the materials are accessible in Africa or Brazil or Haiti or anywhere else. You can't control that part. But you can control the part that is you. You can control your frequency. Okay? You can control the way you think. You can control the way you speak. You can control your emotional response to your environment. All of that is going to come in your training. So if you really want to know who is your Orisha, you've got to be ready to recondition your thinking about who you are. You got to recondition your thinking about what an Orisha is. You've got to be ready to recondition your speech so that what you say is really what you mean. You got to be ready to recondition your emotional response so that at the very least you can be honest and authentic about what's happening, and you're not just being triggered and reacting to every stimulus that comes in front of you. Those are parts of the equation that you can absolutely control. And training will help you do that. When you learn to sit down and learn to recite a verse, when you learn to divine with Obi, when you learn to make offerings, and you learn to actually look for and sense the shifting energy within yourself and around you, your vibration is going to change. And you're going to be more in harmony with that answer that I'm alluding to. Who is my Orisha? You're going to be in more harmony with that answer, right? So that no matter what you hear back, when you hear it, it will resonate with your spirit and you'll be ready to do something with it. Right now, you're not ready to even do anything with it, right? If we make an analogy, what am I going to be when, what am I destined to be? Let's say, here's something, great conversation I've had with people. And I just, I just listen, right? Someone says, yeah, I went and I had a reading and the Babalawo said, I'm an herbalist. I'm an herbalist. You're an herbalist. Yeah, I'm an herbalist. Now, this is, a person who cannot keep a plant alive for more than, 15 days. This person who's petrified of herbal medicine, right? Here, drink this tea. Oh, I feel this. Here, have this tea. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, I got a headache. Oh, here, have this. Chew on this. Oh no, I can't do that. You're the herbalist who's afraid of natural medicine. how does how does that work? So you got to reorientate yourself. You got to recalibrate yourself in order for you to understand when you get the response, what Orisha do I serve? You've got to be in a position internally to receive that answer and then be able to do something with it. Operating with your mind the way you have been conditioned for your whole life up to this point, no, no, it just doesn't happen that magically, right? But it can happen. It absolutely can happen if you are ready, willing, and able to do your part to make the changes within yourself to receive that message and do something meaningful with it. That requires training. That requires training. All right. So I want you to be serious about it. I want you to have fun with it. It's a magnificent road. It's beautiful, but you've got to do it. You've got to commit to it. This is not, a nice to have thing. If you really want to know the answer to that question, who is my Orisha? And you want to be able to do something with that question and not be, the herbalist who can't take natural medicine, can't keep a plant alive, but you're you know what I'm saying? You're in your mind, oh yeah, I'm going to be an herbalist, right? If you want to not fit that motif, put it into your mind, I am going to get trained. And you're going to get trained before you get initiated. If you're serious, you will get trained before you get initiated, not after. All right, not after. Okay, and so in the School of Orisha Studies, I've got 6 levels of training and instruction for you that can take you from the ground zero beginning. You just heard the word Orisha yesterday, right? I can take you from that point all the way to the point where you can conduct rituals and ceremonies, basic rituals and ceremonies for yourself and for your family. All right. And how long it takes you to do that, it really depends on how committed you are and how much time and space you can dedicate to your practice. But whatever it is, if you want to know who is your Orisha, you want to know what your destiny is, you want to know how you can start taking step by step preparation to fulfill that destiny, then it's time for you to start getting trained. Aboru aboye, aboshishe.